Hey Bayek, it's me, and in today's video I'm going to look at this film. It is Payroll from 1961. Now this was sent to me by Tony through Amazon, and what an amazing film it is. I just love these period films. They're just wonderful watching them. Um, this is great. Thank you so much, Tony. Really, thank you. Now, this is a black and white film from 1961. It's 102 minutes long. It's described as a neo-noir crime thriller, and yes, I think that's a good description, but we will go into a little bit more about it in terms of context. Now, the screenplay was by George Baxt. Now, he was involved in the screenplays. He wrote Circus of Horrors, 1960. We mentioned that a lot before. Also, in The City of the Dead, 1960, which wasn't a Hammer film, but it was Christopher Lee in that one. He was also in the screenplay of The Shadow of the Cat from 1961, which is a Hammer film which we have covered before. So he's an interesting screenwriter, and he based it on a novel of the same title, Payroll, by Derek Bickerton. I think it was like a pulp fiction kind of novel, crime novel, and he adapted that. Fantastic. So there's the screenplay writer already. Very interesting. It's directed by Sidney Hayers. Sidney Hayers, you're going, I mentioned that name before. Well, we have. Circus of Horrors, 1960. Yes, he directed that. There's a lot of links with that film, I have noticed here. But from our viewpoint, where I've actually reviewed films that he's directed, he directed Assault from 1971. Remember that? I've directed. Brilliant British film. Crime thriller, horror. It's a horror, really, thriller. Yes. And then Revenge. Oh, yes, Revenge, 1971. He directed that. Wow. He did lots of TV series, but yeah. So he's a great director. He's got a wonderful CV of films. Fantastic. And here he is directing this. Yes, 1961. Right. This was filmed at Beaconsfield Studios, and it was filmed, now this is the important part, on location in Newcastle. And Gates said, yes, we've gone on location, and it's not in London or the south of England, it's up north. Hey, Bayek. So we'll talk about this as well. But yeah, just throw that in for you, so you know. Right, the cast. Michael Craig stars as Johnny Mellors. He's the real sort of baddie, if you want the real baddie character. He was famous in terms of films as Life at the Top, 1965, which is a sequel to Room at the Top from 1959. It represented that change in British film industry, going for more realism and more working class films. Fantastic kitchen sink drama as well. All this kind of stuff. It's all there, a more realistic working class approach to films. We've also got him in The Vault of Horror from 1973, which was an Amicus film. And you know, I love Amicus. He's in that, in one of the anthology stories. Fantastic, absolutely fantastic. But of course, it wouldn't be the same without a Doctor Who appearance. Yes, 1986, Trial of the Time Lord. Colin Baker's Sixth Doctor is in Terror of the Vervoids. Yes. Oh, wow. There we are. Wonderful. Now, this is the next bit. Is really interesting. We have a French actress called Francoise Prevost, or something like that. Prevost, man. She plays Katie Pearson. Wow. She had some sort of class to this film. It was a time when also they were beginning to look in the British film industry about looking abroad and bringing them in, which might appeal to other audiences, not just in Britain. And here we have this class French actress. She's great. She's got a whole massive list of French films. Here she is in this British crime thriller, and she is wonderful in it. I love her in it. She plays that wonderful femme fatale part. You know, oh, wow, she is great. You know straight away what she's like. Wow, she really adds something to this film. Amazing. And then we've got Billy Whitelaw playing Jackie Parker. Wow. I'll do it again. Billy Whitelaw. She is wonderful in this role. Again, she's playing an interesting role. Female characters coming to the fore in a more stronger role as well. And she's out for revenge. Yes. We've got that element here. And films that she was in, I just might pop in. She was in The Flash and the Fiends in the US. It was called Mania. This was about Burke and Hare. It wasn't a Hammer film. And Peter Cushing was in it. And that's from 1960. That was absolutely fascinating. And Donald Pleasance as well. He was in it. Then she was in Hitchcock's Frenzy. Wow, Hitchcock's Frenzy. But the film that I love so much, she was in The Omen. Yes, in The Omen of 1976. Absolute classic horror film. And she played Mrs. Baylock. Yes, you remember that, don't you? Fantastic. That's Billy Whitelaw. Then we've got some various other English actors in various parts of the roles. We've got like William Lucas, for instance, who was in Hammer's X the Unknown from 1956, Tower of Evil, 1972. Another Doctor Who actor in Frontiers, which we haven't mentioned before, Peter Davison's story, 1984, which was a Fifth Doctor story. We've got Kenneth Griffith. He plays Monty in this. Again, another of the gang, like with William Lucas. He was in Circus of Horrors. Surprise, surprise. Yes, he was in that, which we keep linking up with this director. There's a clue there. Then we've got Tom Bell, who plays Blackie. He was in a very important film, The Krays from 1990. Yes, the Kemp twins involved in that. The Kemp brothers, the twins. You know, they are Spandau Ballet and all that stuff. And then he was famous apparently for being in Prime Suspect, a massive TV series, police TV series. Then we've got another face you recognise straight away, I did, which is Glyn Houston playing Frank Moore. He also had Doctor Who appearances, 2 of them. Yes, he was in The Hand of Fear, 1976, Sarah Jane's farewell story, and also The Awakening, which is a really fascinating story, It's two-part, as I remember. 1984, that one, Fifth Doctor story. Fantastic. So we've got our links, and that's it. The theme music was by Reg Owen and his orchestra. Hey, by heck, that sounds a really grand title, doesn't it? But the soundtrack is very interesting. It's very much of that. When I hear that, I think of the sort of 60s period where they have these lot of jazz kind of influences in the soundtrack. And you get that here. It's great. I love it. It's all nostalgia. Oh, fantastic. So what's this film about? Well, a group of criminals who are working class criminals. You know, they're here. This is the part I'm talking about, social realism as well. They could be round your street. They're not these other sort of gangsters that are far away. They could be in your neighbourhood. And they plan this robbery of a payroll. They also have inside help. But they change to this. Their plans have to change because there's the introduction of this secure armoured vehicle, which is supposedly, impregnable. Anyhow, the robbery goes wrong. This often happens in these kind of films, and the driver dies, and it's the husband of Billy Whitelaw's character. It's her husband, Jackie Parker. That's it, Jackie Parker. Also, the French actress, she is the wife of the insider, who's a weak kind of man, really, who's given the information up to these criminals. And it's interesting because she suddenly just dominates the screen as soon as you see her as the wife, and she doesn't like him at all. She doesn't like him. He's a weak man. She'd be quite happy to get rid of him, and that all starts to pivot in this film. So the first half of the film, you get very much about the planning of the film, of the raid, and how it all goes wrong. And then you get, after this, you get the consequences of the fallout. And there's so many sort of things you see in this film, the fallout, the way it gets quite nasty as well, the fallout. And, I'm even thinking, I know it's not in that same sort of in terms of violence and blood, but you start to think of Reservoir Dogs when they all turn on each other, Tarantino's film. And this is one of those in that tradition where they all turn on each other, and it's a wonderful sequence. But the added interest, I think, is the two female characters who really add important part of the story. And, of course, the revenge aspect as well, getting justice, is interesting. Because don't forget, in those days as well, what I think another part is that they know that if they get caught, the chances are they're going to hang. We still had hanging in this country in this period at that time for murder. So there was, it was very likely they would lose their lives as well. And it's just amazing how it all unfolds. As I say, it reflects very much of this period now in change in filmmaking emphasis. We're seeing locations outside London. Yes, isn't this fantastic? It's wonderful. It had just been beginning to happen, and the realizing that there is a world beyond the south and London, and here it is. We see it. You think way back. You think looking forward to Get Carter, for instance, from 1971, Michael Caine, which is another superb classic British film. That uses Newcastle. Perhaps you would laugh and say, well, I didn't hear many Newcastle accents. Yeah, there isn't many Newcastle accents in this, but that's not the point. And I think Get Carter does show perhaps a bit more of actually life, maybe in Newcastle. But this does, in a way, it just shows the location, and you get a feel that it's something different than it is in Newcastle. And it's ordinary people as well, and that is fantastic. It works. It really works well. I'm so happy with this film. I highly recommend it. It's a great historical landmark of this film, I think. Absolutely fantastic. Highly recommended. You're there gripped by it, literally right to the end. Totally gripped by it. And here is the copy I've got. There it is. And I did show you the unboxing of this, and it's fantastic. It's got a book in it, and I'll just quickly show you. I know you want to see it. No, this hasn't got a book in it. But, it's got a great disc in it. Yes. I'm so carried away. I just watched the film. But yeah, this is great. Honestly, I love this. And there's a great introduction here on the extras to the film. And it's been really well restored. The print looks fantastic. Highly recommended. This came out in 2015 restoration. Wonderful. And that's it. That's all I'm going to say is, yes. If you've... a big thank you again to Tony. He has made this possible. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. And we'll let you know when I produce these videos. And also, if you like it, give it a like. Yeah, it all costs no, all this. And it helps in algorithms and all that stuff. And that's fantastic. If you've got any comments, please, I'd love to read your comments. Thank you so much. It's a great pleasure doing all these films and wonderful. So, all I've got to say is, I'll see thee again.